Hey, Baris.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hey. Good, good. How are you?
Is that the right way to say Baris, or I'm not doing wrong?
It's a special letter actually in Turkish. The pronunciation is Baris.
Baris. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I thought let's catch up with some friends I have met on the way. So thought
Yeah.
let's see what he's up to.
It's been a long time actually. We have
Yeah,
met only once, but since then I guess like time to
yeah,
time we have been in touch, but
yeah,
we couldn't manage to meet yet.
yeah. I think we met in 2019, I guess, in Paris, right? We were
Yeah.
I think we were with keep forgetting the name. I just talked to her. We were
Karim.
couchsurfing. Yeah, Karima from
Karim, yeah.
Paris, and he also showed up there. We also had like a couple of people more there.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. Actually, I'm in the country of Karima, like where she's originally from. Yeah, she's originally from Morocco.
really, I thought she was from Algeria.
As far as I remember, she was from here, maybe Algeria, but like one of the North African country
Fair
for
enough.
sure.
One of those things which French basically tried to take advantage of.
Yeah, like another story of the colonization, basically.
Yep. What are you doing in Morocco right now?
Actually, I escaped from the kind of those lockdowns in Europe and the region.
Yeah,
So Morocco is pretty. First, the weather is better.
yeah,
It's sunny, it's warmer, and the lockdown doesn't apply here.
yeah.
Like we have kind of restriction after 9 p.m.
Okay.
during the week time, but like during the day, like everything is open. There is no strict kind of implication of any kind of measurement by the
Yeah.
government.
Did you
So
move
yeah,
there when the COVID started? Did you move then already?
no. Like COVID has been taking place like such a long time actually when you consider.
I can't even
So
remember what was
if this,
happening before that, I guess.
yeah, I was in South America when the COVID started. I went to kind of a long tour that I had in mind since my childhood. It was a kind of dream trip. So I went to Colombia, then Peru, Argentina, and I went to Uruguay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you know much about Uruguay. So
I
we
think,
went there for 2 days with a
yeah.
friend. But like at the second day, while we were on the way to just like get the boat to come back to Argentina, the global lockdown started,
Yeah.
and we spent almost 4 months in Uruguay.
Wow. You must be local there at this point, I guess.
Yeah, actually, like I've met many friends. We are still in touch. They helped me to improve my Spanish. That was one of the aim of the trip.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
What level are you Spanish? Can you speak now?
Do you speak?
No,
¿Hablas español?
no hablo español. I can do some dancing on Latin beats, but that's about it.
Okay. My Spanish, I guess it's like around B2, C1 in the scale of the English
Gotcha.
level. But yeah, like I'm confident enough to meet someone, talk about life, even in philosophy sometimes.
Oh, that's all you want. Like if you can talk
Yeah,
about the meaning of life, that's already pretty big deal.
exactly. I use the languages as tool, you know.
Yeah.
Like there is no obsession that like I need to just like improve. If I feel confident enough to explain what I need to say,
Yeah.
I guess that's enough.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is, right? It's a media of communication. What I'm thinking, how to translate it so other person can basically understand it.
Yeah, basically.
So
But since then, like afterwards, like this Corona time has been, even though many people kind of like stuck in a place,
yeah,
that's the one of the main common shared experience of it. It didn't apply in my life. So after Uruguay, I went to Turkey, visit my family. Then my partner came
yeah,
to Turkey. She's from Poland, and we moved to Poland. We spent 2 months,
yeah.
and we are on the process of writing our PhD dissertation.
All
I
right.
guess like in the following chat that we can mention about this too.
Yeah,
So then we decided to just like find a place with the better conditions.
yeah.
Actually, it's cheaper when you consider.
That's true.
So here we are.
Fair enough. That seems like you have been moving around during this time. Like everyone is kind of like, but that's a good way. But yeah, so just to like give an idea. Thanks a lot for just like jumping on. I'm trying this experiment to just like
Mhm.
it's a kind of podcast to talk to people I've met from different kind of countries. I know, just basically like try to explore from one person, like how it's like a lived experience if you take it and if you try to make sense of it, basically.
Hmm.
So we'll talk about a bunch of stuff like we did already. Like, why don't we just give a quick, I don't know, 1 minute summary of where you originally are from and what has been like a short form journey till now for you.
Hmm. So as you know, I'm from Turkey,
Yeah.
and I'm Kurdish ethnically,
Right.
and I guess like being Kurdish is also kind of political identity
Yeah.
when you consider the whole the stories. But yeah, I spent the first 13 years of my life in Kurdish region with my family. Then I was awarded to get in one of the boarding school,
Yeah.
which was a kind of special titled one that I left my home and I started to study in this high school.
Which region is this? So I was just like for my basic geography, Kurdish is like a mix of Syria plus northern Iraq and Turkey.
Iran and Iran, yeah, like it is a kind of the Kurdish region is divided into those four countries
Right.
in the Middle East, and Kurds are the largest population without a proper state.
I
This is the
remember.
kind of like the
Yeah,
yeah this
I was watching what's the guy? Yeah, I was yeah, exactly. I was reading. I was pretty surprised that that's like the biggest ethnic group without like a representation as a country, like 40 million people. So I'm like,
yeah
that's pretty interesting.
yeah especially when you consider the nowadays politics
Yeah.
around the globe. But yeah, like I grew up in there and I studied the high school.
Which
Then
which city was it? I don't know if you.
so my city is where I'm from is Diyarbakir. This is how the Turkish name.
Yeah.
The Kurdish one is Ahmet.
Yeah.
But when I travel, when people ask me where are you from, I usually use this kind of historical phrase to remind them, like probably you know too, Mesopotamia.
Right.
This is the like so my city is kind of capital of Mesopotamia, in between two rivers,
Okay.
Tigris and Euphrates, in the kind of like where it starts.
I see.
It is historical, yeah, it's like pretty historical city. Then yeah, like my journey started afterwards, I would say. So I went to another city in the northeast of Turkey, which is pretty cold, close to the Armenian and Georgian border. I studied there for my high school. Then I get in the university in another city close to the capital in kind of like Anatolian region.
Yeah.
That's called Eskişehir. So I get my bachelor degree in there in sociology. Then my journey, the abroad journey started basically. So I was granted one of the full-time scholarship to learn English. So I was in US for 1 year to learn English. Then I went to United Kingdom for my master degree. And then afterwards, like I started my PhD in Exeter. It was the time that we met actually. It was, I guess, the first year of my PhD.
Yeah.
That I was in Paris for a conference by that time.
I see.
Yeah.
I thought you were just happy to see us.
Yeah. My sister was there. Yeah, like a kind of, it was a sibling tour that we started to travel around.
Yeah. Fair enough. So, like, just to like go into a little bit like into those things. So, how is like schooling in Turkey? Let's say, is it like what kind of like a general system? Do you have like a standard like now that you can compare? What's a how do you get through the schooling generally?
So, in Turkey, the compulsory education is 12 years.
Okay.
So the first 4 years is a kind of primary school. We have the secondary school concept after the primary, and we have the high school, which is 4 years as well. Like in total is 12 years. This is compulsory and for free. But of course, there are like the bunch of those private ones, like relatively more qualified.
Yeah.
But I was in one of the private one, the high school, the boarding school that I mentioned, that I needed to pass 2 different exams to get a high grade and to be able to get a chance to get into this school.
Okay.
So yeah, and universities are still free.
Yeah.
Like hypothetically, but like actually you pay a lot. And nowadays the public school, the governmental universities are pretty non-qualified due to the, how do we call, like the brain migration, those
Brain
like
drain.
qualified, yeah, like this is kind of like one of the contemporary process, the condition of Turkey, I would say, in many different kind of section in the life, social structures. Education is one of them. Yeah, I would say it's still relatively good when I compare to region, Middle Eastern region. I had been in Iraq, Syria, I had been in Egypt. So like when I was there, I was paying attention to the structure. I'm a sociologist, by the way. I studied sociology for my bachelor and my master degree.
Yeah.
So like it helps me to see the structures, like how the society function through the different kind of services, facilities. Turkey is, I would say, kind of intermediate version of the European country.
Yeah.
It has the infrastructure that was taken, the model was taken from Europe, that was established, but the mentality is kind of regional. The mentality of the government is kind of, and that's a, I don't know, like it's a kind of fusion.
Well, it is said like it's a gateway between West and East, right? So it is literally like between those things. So should have like a good height from both sides, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it like schooling? Is it like mostly it's a public school, or do you also have like a all kind of mix? I guess before university at least.
Before university, as I said, like the 12 years of compulsory school.
That's generally like government, like a public schools, or where do most people go generally?
Public school, definitely, the free one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like in maybe last decade, when I started to finish my bachelor degree, the education started to kind of deteriorate in Turkey due to the like many reasons, I would say. There has been different kind of models that have been applied. They took one of the model from Finland. It didn't work out. They took like another model from Switzerland. It didn't work out. Like they kind of experiment to find out the best model. But during this experiment, time is kind of deteriorating the education. So when the public education gets worsened, there are many private schools that pops up.
Right.
And if you are from middle or up class economically, people usually prefer to send their kids to those private ones. Nowadays.
Yeah. Fair enough. That makes sense. How do you decide, like, figure out that you have to move from that region to, I think, close to Istanbul first, and then to UK, I think. You first moved to US, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. So for the university, that you have to pass few exams. Like in Turkey, usually getting a position requires like to show the proof that you are qualified enough. Even though that exams, the kind of concept of exams are like not qualified enough to measure the like whoever is qualified. But yes, my time, like it was 2006. So I passed 2 different exams and I get enough grade to be candidate in one of the schools that I choose to study sociology, which was public school. So yeah, during it is 4 years, usually the bachelor's in Turkey. Unlike UK.
Depends on kind of degree, I guess. So did you study like, is it like a bachelor of a BA, or what will you call that?
Yeah, like it's a BA, bachelor.
Yeah.
So, but in general, I guess like in UK, the duration of the degrees are shorter than the general accepted university structure. In UK, it's like 3 years for bachelor degree, 1 year for master degree, and 3 years for PhD.
Wow, that's fun. PhD. I would love to get.
Yeah, like in 7 years, like you can get just like your PhD degree. Even though you can shorten it.
Is it like different fields also? Like because generally I'm familiar with more like, you know, STEM kind of fields, so engineering, and you have like for those 4 years bachelor's, 2 years masters, and PhD like 4 to 5 years, depending on. That's general. I don't know about UK specifically, but that's generally like at least what I know.
Yeah, this is the same in Turkey. So UK is the unlikely one.
I'm always like super curious, like when I hear someone like who studied like such a like interesting topic, right? Like sociology. How do you think of that? Like you want to study sociology at 18, let's say.
So I guess the sociology, by that time, if you ask me like, so why do you study? Probably I would be more romantic, because I was into reading and observing, and I was rebellious in a way too. So when you are rebellious, I guess subconsciously you need to know what you are rebelling against.
Right.
It's not just like showing your furious face.
Right.
So in my case, I was more interested in learning life, basically. There were traditions that you were obliged to reply, like response by behaving or just like being meet with the expectations, which I disagreed in many cases. That made me to realize like, so what are this like? What is the function of religion? That I was never religious, but seeing my mom like was as a religious person. And I don't know, like my father was primary teacher school, so seeing my father as a getting really like small amount of money, but publicly having such a high social status.
I see.
So so those kind of like a different dynamics made me to just pay more attention on. And I was interested I was kind of confused in between sociology and philosophy.
Right.
So I was already interested in social sciences as a general frame, I would say.
Yeah.
So sociology, like in my brother, one of my best friend, actually, the oldest brother.
Yeah.
So we have 5 years old age gap, and he was already in university. So probably like also his kind of suggestions and advices made me to specifically choose sociology.
Interesting. Did you have like a lot of people around you, family or friends also who are like a little bit? What's the common things that people generally like study? Because like my favorite quote, one of the thing is like, you don't know what you don't know. So I was like in retrospect, I tried to explore so many items now, philosophy or psychology. I didn't even know that you should be thinking about these things. So I was like super track person. So yeah, I always like gets me like people who are like 16 or 18, they have this like conception of like, oh, we should explore these things. I'm like how do you
Mhm.
get to that point basically from just inside out, or these like something about your environment that you just like born with it?
Yeah, I guess the concept of the Pierre Bourdieu habitus that I recently worked on that too. Habitus is a basically social structures that is embodied in our life, that can be culture, that can be economical status, that can be cultural background, then the kind of composition of it that creates a circle that you are operating around it, like as an orbit.
Right.
So in my habitus, when I consider I have two older brothers. They were already in the university. So both of them were from the sciences. Like one of them is engineer, the other one is a medical doctor.
Okay.
But seeing them like studying a lot and not enjoying what they are doing,
Right.
but with the motivation of the having the idea of the just like getting the title, being a doctor or an engineer
Right.
in the field, but in the process, they helped me to see like how difficult it was and how it colorless for me, like it's the way that I was seeing the world, how colorless it was. So that helped me to kind of navigate myself into the social sciences.
Yeah.
And that was one of the kind of I would say like impulse that lead me to just choose sociology.
Yeah.
But also I guess the main reason still, like when I dig into the time to exactly remember, I was interested in social sciences. As I said, there were many social surrounding concepts that I was trying to understand. So like you have like I was 13 years old when I started this boarding school. I was given like a small amount of money that my parents told me this is your monthly salary, that you are gonna have this money each month and you have to decide like how you are gonna spend it. So you live until 13 without just like having any kind of worry of like how you are gonna spend your money, how you are gonna arrange your budget.
Right.
But immediately you just like you are being given a money, they say okay, just like you have to manage, you have to be economist of your expenses. Like you say okay,
Right.
such thing like made me, I guess, to pay more attention on those social structures
Mm.
that have value in our life.
Fair enough. And how do you, in retrospect, like, do you think, are you super happy still? Like, you followed the path of social science? Um,
Mhm.
like, how do you feel at this point?
I'm happy, definitely.
Yeah.
I have I kind of dedicated my life in education in a way that I educated myself, like a
Yeah.
kind of self-education, and also I was in the institutions to be educated.
Right.
So I studied sociology right after kind of get in the same university in sociology master degree in Turkey. I studied for 1 year, and in the meantime, I was exploring my ideas and my interest in philosophy. I applied one of the public school for master degree in philosophy. I was accepted. I kind of started that, but by that time I get a scholarship to just like move abroad. So I went to US and studied language. Then I moved on to do another master degree in sociology. So having chance of kind of multidisciplinary social sciences helped me to kind of nurture my interest that I was trying to discover,
Right.
the reason that motivated me to choose sociology. So now I am in political science, basically. The program that I'm in is called Middle East Politics.
Ooh, perfect.
And yeah, now I'm using all the qualifications, basically, those interdisciplinary perspective into one.
Yeah.
And I'm happy, yeah, like answering your question.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy.
So one thing is also like, so if like if I don't know about sociology, how will you describe it? Like what does exactly it entails generally?
I guess one of the common description of sociology, they call it social engineering, like engineering to understand, comprehend how the society function.
Yeah.
Let's like make a comparison. So psychology is more aimed to understand the individual's psychology. This is a kind of like what it is, or like also anthropology. We can use anthropology as well.
Right.
It is more like a micro focus.
Yeah.
Within this micro focus, they like find out the macro perspective as well. But sociology is kind of like intermediate. They don't invest their specific interest in one field, like you can say family sociology as an example.
Right.
Yeah, there are like those who are expertise of the family sociology, but as a base, you learn family, religion, economy, social structure, education, urban, village, I don't know, the upbringing. So all those components that actually establish the life that we are operating in itself.
Right.
But more through the social perspective rather than those signs. Like if you ask me how, I don't know, how internet works.
Yeah.
I would say this is more IT, but it's still like it's involves in science perspective that I'm not qualified in.
Fair enough. So if I like understand in layman's term, it's basically like how the groups of people interact with each other. That's kind of sociology. When psychology is just, if you take one individual isolated, that's psychology. And if you take them as a group, that's what sociology will mean, basically.
Yeah. Basically, like a sociology is a kind of macro version of the psychology, let's say.
Sure.
It aims to understand the mobility of the mass rather than an individual. Sociology aims to understand the societies or social groups that kind of socialize together, act together, interact together.
I see. It's super interesting to hear, like you said, right? So people were looking for a doctor or engineer as a status kind of thing. I was just like laughing inside. That was exactly how I grew up as well. But it's like status is one thing, but it's also like a shot at like economic upper class, basically. So if you want to get, like, if you're from lower middle class family, if you want to get out, make it to the out of your surroundings, that's like the two risk adjusted basis, like the best shots. You try to become doctor, engineer. I thought like doctor is can't remember things, so biology is not my thing, so I just chose engineering. I was good at physics, luckily, so that kind of worked out. I enjoy it, but that was the kind of thing. And the key thing is like the difference is such a big, like so just from my experience, like if you're an engineer, like a good engineer, then you make top 1% income in India generally. So the difference between like being average and just having this one, it's like huge. You get the shot of this thing and really like drives psychology of people in a big way. Like
but like as a comment, I can say, I guess the what attracts people to choose their profession for future is directly related to representation of those professions in the society, the models they are taking to. Like they see a doctor who has a socioeconomically better status and condition in life, who has a car, like as I'm simplifying, who has a house, who has money to go for a holiday, who is being respected. This kind of like formulates a model for the profession they would like to become. And there are common, as you said, like the engineers or doctors or lawyers, like as a common character of the professions. Who gets more money, like so, which changes their like economic class. The more money you get, you are being more respected by the society.
Right.
That changes and increases your social status. And also when you have more capitals to function your or realize your interest, that extends and increase your cultural capitals too. So all those combines like and still like matches in a way.
True.
That I cannot blame someone who would like to become a doctor, because the representation of doctors in the society is still good.
That's true.
Even though like I have no interest in biology,
Yeah.
like as a science, let's say. But yeah, this is what attracts people.
Fair enough. What's like, based on all your years of study and just interactions and traveling around now at this point, where do you stand in terms of the nature versus nurture question, that how much of like your personality is because of you compared to like just being society? Basically your lived experience is what makes you you. What's your current stance on that one?
Okay,
So
so
that's like
it's a
yeah, that's like a common debate, right?
twisted question.
Yeah, so it's basically from since the start of philosophy and stuff, like Rene Descartes said mind and body are different, and the theory started like so how much are you born with versus how much you're just socialized as, right? So all the things you like, all the preferences you have, all the choices you make, is that just shaped by the lived experiences you have, based on your environment, family, things, or they are like a what percentage does, like from sociology point of view at this point, you assign to that?
Yeah, like as a parenthesis, I can give the another options of like what it can be. There is one of the Arab philosopher Ibn Khaldun, and he describes the upbringings. They say he formulates the geography that you're born in defines your fate. So this is kind of like a simplifying version of the understanding. I would say definitely your habitus, in a way, like back to the reference, your habitus defines your future projection,
Right.
without undermining, by the way, with like it doesn't mean I undermine the individual's efforts to change their path. So when I consider myself, I would say, yeah, like I am the one of those individual who created its opportunity, rather than just like following what the habitus shows.
Right.
Yeah, like I could easily be a teacher and just like stay in the institution, just like go, or I could just like follow my brothers, like become an engineer or a doctor.
Yeah.
Like rather than that, I question, I guess that was the thing, the personal interest from the childhood, maybe like linking back to our roots.
Yeah.
I guess it somehow formulates like what you want to become, and the energy. There is one of the one of my favorite writer from Turkey, Yashar Kemal, and he says every single person has a worm inside. That worm can make you, like in the concept of now, like it can make you president of the country, but also like the slave of the country as well.
Yeah.
It depends how you are feeding that worm. And in my case, I had my interest, personal interest that I was questioning, which was making me kind of rebellious in my family, in my social group. But also I had worm to feed and just like follow the path that I wanted to create it. I guess the main time, if I just like need to formulate, studying in boarding school when you are really young, who are usually dependent on their families and being taken by the family, when you change, you switch off the setting that you have to take care of yourself as an individual,
Right.
changes your kind of, it empowers you. Maybe that would be the right phrase to say it. Yeah, it empowers you to take an action.
Right.
And in my case, yeah, I would say I cannot deny the influence of my family, especially intellectual wise. My brothers, they have been quite good model for me that I followed.
Yeah.
And also I individually, I added my interests on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you like, I was trying to like a little bit listen to geography that you mentioned. So, well, like, what kind of geography do you think the places you're surrounded with was it like plateau, normal things, or was it like mountains, desert? What kind of thing were there?
So I grew up in a small town, like around 100,000 population,
Yeah,
and it is just like by the one of the mountain. It is in Mesopotamia, and we have like the kind of lots of plateaus just in front of us, and it is a kind of agricultural area. So I grew up in a house that we built. I remember I was carrying the bricks to my father that we made the house.
yeah.
We had a big garden, and yeah, I grew up in that place basically. So in that case, yeah, I was socioeconomically in between middle and lower class maybe.
Yeah.
Economically, like we were not rich, definitely.
Yeah.
We could not have whatever we wanted, but we were kind of self-sufficient as well. That was another thing that we were getting our thing. There was a circle that we were getting from our garden. So regarding the city, yeah, like it wasn't very developed by that time,
Yeah.
but still we had the means to reach things, let's say. Yeah, I don't know if you ask specifically something, I can reply, I can
Well,
respond.
but it's kind of like a one thing that also like stands like, so I guess you are not like probably you are much different than a typical person from Turkey at this point, because you just have tried so many different things beyond the scope or something. What really sticks out to you in terms of like what will a typical person value in their life generally? If you have to like top three things people value in their life, what will that be?
You mean the from the geography that I'm coming from, or?
Yeah, in general, Turkey, I guess
Yeah,
it's
in Turkey, yeah, I would say family, that can be one of them.
right,
Economy,
right,
the money that they facilitate their life, and society, I guess, like in a bigger scale rather than only family, like what the society expects from you
yeah,
somehow defines your limits
mm,
for your action, for your interest. These three are, it's a kind of like reciprocal relationship. I wouldn't say just people are being restricted by the expectation of society, but they create also, they reproduce those expectations in return. Maybe, yeah, these three I might say: family, money, like as an economy profession maybe, and the society, interest of society.
I see. Fair enough. How will you say like religion stands out? Are you from religious family? Are you religious?
I'm not religious, no. I
Yeah,
never been religious.
yeah,
In this case, I was a bit unusual, I would say, like in compared to extraordinary, even like in my compared to my surrounding. My father was not religious,
yeah,
so he became a kind of role model to me, and he helped us to have our independent space rather than just like being exposed to the expectation or implication of the religion in the society. But my mom is religious.
yeah,
She prays 5 times. She's Muslim. But in general, what is the importance of religion? Religion in Turkey has been one of the main political tool that somehow get into the people's life,
yeah.
like in different polarization. Let's say, like when the Turkey was founded, it was totally secular. The
Right.
founder of Turkey, the kind of the equipe, like the team of the by that time was totally secular and against religion even.
Yeah.
But by the time, like when you consider the last 20 years of Turkey, which is the same party still, they have been using the religion, and they try to somehow like take it back, if this is the right phrase to use it,
Yeah.
by just like limiting your individual rights. I don't know, like by increasing the taxes of alcohol to not make it easy for society to reach it.
Right.
As an example, yeah, this is the kind of like, or the making all the high schools as a religious high school,
Yeah.
making the religion kind of compulsory courses in every kind of level of the school. So these are the like the reproduction of the religion that became regains the value in society nowadays.
Which is the reason, do you think it's like because that's like the kind of law of nature? It was considered as the time goes by, countries become liberal as the economic expands. Like because like I think at the time of Ataturk, right, that was like much more
Mhm.
secular kind of country also and stuff. So do you think it's like reverse going because of economic distrust? Because I think it's the same thing, city versus non-cities kind of like debate in Turkey also, right?
Yeah. So I don't know, like I'm not sure whether it would be a good comparison, the
Yeah.
Atatürk time and nowadays. I would say maybe ideology,
Mm.
the ideology that those rulers of the country somehow determines the ideology of the society too. In
Mm-hmm.
the case of the Marx says like those who controls the tools of the material production,
Right.
like those who are the empowered in economy also controls the mentality of the society. I guess this somehow formulates what you said in a way. But in nowadays, I don't know. I would say ideologies are maybe more determinant,
Mm.
even though there is a direct relation. It is kind of grift relation, the religion and the or the ideology and the economy. When you realize, like, it doesn't matter regardless your ideology, if you are in power, I guess this is the kind of nature of power. When you are in power and when you realize that you are losing money, when you are losing something, that kind of like makes you more conservative to stick out with your power and to just like, it's a kind of survival mode.
Yeah.
As soon as it's like you realize that, like you kind of like say, okay, like what can I do? Just like use all the possibilities. Doesn't matter like what it is. But yeah, this is the case in Turkey, I would say. Like religion has been one of the political tool. I wouldn't deny, I wouldn't just like undermine the belief of the society. 1908, if I'm not wrong, of the society are registered as a Muslim. Like if you're born in Turkey, you are counted as Muslim. Doesn't no one ask you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not religious, you have to make a step. Otherwise, like you are counted as religious. So I don't deny those who pray, who follows the structure of the religion.
Yeah.
Like I'm totally fine with it. But there should be regulation because when we see the public relations that has an implication and impact on my life because of the beliefs that you have, it should be regulated
Mm.
because the religion is kind of a philosophy. Like for me, I can consider Islam or Buddhism or Christianity,
Right.
the faith or the good faith they kind of try to recommend to society is philosophy. They say, okay, like you should live according to good,
Right.
changes in from region to region, but it should be in between those, let's say, God and the individual, because it regulates firstly disciplines the personal body and personal mind. But when it becomes a politicized, it requires a power to use. Like as I said, when you are in power to control a region with all the means, so you say, okay, like if I have the possibility of using those security forces to oppress the society and make them to obey what I am saying, I'm gonna do this. This is a kind of like survival mode again, especially in the regions that I'm coming from.
That makes me a little bit curious in terms of like what's the system like right now in terms of government system? Is it parliamentary or is like a presidential system? Or
So it was parliamentary. Still, there is a parliament in Turkey. It's a democratic like a system. This is like how they name it. But it's been, I guess, 4 years. There was a referendum. They changed, especially the current government. The president of Turkey, they changed the constitution to make it a presidential system. Now there is a one-man ruling, basically, even though there are like the various opposition parties in the parliament,
yeah,
but the majority of the parliament is still in the control of the main party with a coalition with one of the nationalist and conservative party. They share the same values in some cases.
yeah,
So they are the majority, and whatever they want to make it law,
yeah.
they have they say, okay, like, yeah, this is the system that we have in the parliament, that we are gonna vote for it.
That makes me like just a little bit curious because I'm always like trying to figure out like is it like someone who got in the power and is forcing his or her will on the people to like transform it, like, you know, a little bit more orthodox or religious or something? Other thing,
Mhm.
something has shifted over time in people, which kind of like elects some certain kind of like leader. Right now, I keep forgetting the name. So which one do you think? So like Erdogan, right? That's a uh,
Mhm.
guy right now. So is that like there was some situation which kind of led to a certain kind of this, or is it because he got in the power, he's trying to force his ideology now on wider society kind of thing?
So the question that you are asking is not just like 1 minute answer. And like
yeah, we just easy questions here, no problem.
I guess one of the main issue is about power, the concept of power.
Right.
Power creates hierarchies.
Right.
Power creates the powerless and powerful one. And as a human being, so I guess there are tendencies of majority of human beings to be deceived or to be poisoned by the nature of the power.
Right.
When you are in the position to realize that you can dictate people, realize the thought or the belief that you have in your mind as a kind of common, the public belief, then this is the kind of the relationship that takes place. So in Turkey, like how it was, yeah, of course, those systems like the parliament or the parties are the representation, embodiment of the people's belief. They go, they vote for them. This is the kind of like giving the will on and believing them that they are gonna use it like for a certain amount of time for a period, which is 4 years or 5 years in general. Right. But like after a while, realizing that you are the only power, that there is, regardless of any kind of opposition, that you are powerful to realize whatever you want to do, then this is the kind of, I guess, the breaking point, that you are being deceived by the power, the nature of power, to just like say, okay, like I like this position, I don't want to lose it. So what can I do to not lose it for the next time? Right. This is, I guess, the nature of it, you know?
Yeah, it's like the superhero code, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, basically, this is a good formulation.
Yeah. So just like trying to like switch, if you like a little bit gear on terms of that, like so I think the prominent language in Turkey is Turkish, I guess.
Yeah.
Is it like how will you describe? Is it somewhat related to Arabic, or it's totally different kind of language?
Turkish is a made-up language, I would say. It's a kind of, they claim that it's a kind of continuation of the Ottoman language,
right,
which shares like the majority of the words in common as a sound,
right.
But the structure and the alphabet of Turkish has changed when the Turkey was founded after the Ottoman.
Yeah.
But the creation of the Turkish is mainly based on the French and Arabic as a root, I would say.
Okay.
So when I started to learn Arabic, that I realized actually the alphabet was different, which made it the most difficult part. Yeah. But when I could pronounce, like that was the way that I was learning. I was just like taking the text in Arabic, I was reading loud and I was recognizing what it is, even though I didn't know what it is like by writing the right. sounds, because the words are usually in common with Arabic. But yeah, I can say a few things if you want, that you can try to catch up the sounds. Yeah. And you can describe.
How do you say hello? Let's say.
Merhaba.
Merhaba. I knew that one. Yeah. And how do you say good morning?
Günaydın.
Günaydın. Okay. You said like it's a mix of French and Arabic. How come? So that's like gets me a little bit curious. Has Turkish been occupied in history by someone?
No, I would say no, because the Turkey was the kind of central commander of the Ottoman Empire, which was in power like such a long time.
Yeah, it was the superpower, right? Like,
but the founder of Turkey and his comrades by that time was really in love with the Westernization, the ideology that came from, especially from France by that time. But right. Just next to the Turkey, Syria was occupied for almost 20 years. Right. And also after the Ottoman, it was a kind of coalition, even though there was fights against those colonization in Turkey. So how it is, words like as a sound, as a structure, television, like this is it comes from, there are lots of words ends with yon, papillon.
I see.
I don't know, television. This sound is the structure of it is like a kind of taken from French. But the structure, I don't know, like I'm not a linguist. Yeah. I can speak few languages, I can make a comparison, but this is what I read and what I realized, because sometimes I hear French and I can catch up the words. Right. I hear Arabic, I catch up the words,
Yeah.
but it doesn't happen with any other languages.
Now that you
And
sorry, go ahead.
so Turkish is the official language of Turkey,
Yeah.
but Turkey is a nest for variety of the different ethnicity, which has their own languages. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm Kurdish, and the Kurdish is totally different. Kurdish is like as a family lineage is linked to the Persian. It is
Okay.
totally different than the Turkish, but it is not allowed. So that it's gonna become to the politics again. The main policy and the main kind of ideology of Turkey always included in nationalism, and the idea of nationalism is usually embodied in one, like
Right.
one nation, one language, one flag, one ethnicity, one religion, like somehow assimilating all those diversities to melt them to just like into the majority, the major identity.
Yeah.
Was the kind of like what happened in Turkey, especially against Kurds, against Cherkess. I would say like there are diversity of different ethnic backgrounds.
Do you think at some point, I don't know if you, what's the state? Like, do you think Kurdish people will form a country? Do you think that that's going to happen at some point, or it's
This is a nightmare, you know. This is the nightmare of the Turkish people. Like if you
guys?
say like if you just like by making joke like hey like oh, do you think one day like the Kurds are gonna like form an independent country? They would be so offended, you know. This is what I mean by the nationalism. They cannot even just digest a joke about it.
Right. Right.
I don't know, like I am personally and ideologically, I am against the idea of the nation state because I don't want to create another version of Turkey by just like separating the borders.
Right.
What needs to be upgraded is the mentality, is the ideology, which like let's make it simple, to respect a different one and accept a different one, rather than just like making them like all similar and all one in one. But yeah, I would, if there was a like referendum,
Yeah.
I would just like I could consider, to be honest, because when you consider the political oppression that takes in Turkey, thousands of the Kurds are being labeled as terrorists and they are being arrested, and the publicly it can be just like accepted, justified. Oh, they're like the supporter of the terrorism.
Right.
There is an organization, there is an armed organization, by the way. I'm not sure how aware you are in the
I'm
politics of
they were like
region.
fighting against what was ISIS, right? They were
Yeah.
like really big deal. They were like holding against to come in the Turkey, I guess.
Yes, like Kurds, the main and well-known political party, the armed political party, is the PKK,
Right.
which is the kind of Kurdistan Workers' Party.
Yeah.
This is like how it is, and it has like a 42, 43 years old history, and they are strong, you know, like in terms of resistance.
Yeah.
They couldn't be eliminated by the Turkey. There have been like I would say like hundreds or thousands of the attacks by the military to eliminate them, but no, like they day by day they get straightened and grow better in a way.
Yeah.
So they spread around too, because the idea of Kurds, the identity of Kurdishness, is transnational. Like it crosses the borders. Yeah, Kurds in Syria they say yeah, we are Kurds, and Kurds in Turkey they say like actually we are Kurd and actually we are brother.
Yeah.
This is the kind of like the imagined community concept that appears. So in that sense, yeah, like if you ask Kurds who lives in the region whether they would love to have a independent country, I would say majority would say yes, because of those nation states did to them. Maybe otherwise they would not be so interested. They would say, okay, like if this is gonna save us from further oppression, and yeah, why not? Like I would like to speak my languages as mother tongue.
Right.
I learned my mother tongue like so late. The only language is accepted and is being used in Turkey is Turkish, and Kurdish still somehow like is being denied. Existence of Kurds are still being denied.
Even in the regions that you like grew up around, was Kurdish like really banned? Like you people can't speak Kurdish generally.
Nowadays you can,
Yeah.
but like it's a kind of pointing yourself out in the society. If you are in a in a Turkish city, and if you speak publicly Kurdish,
Yeah,
people just like can look at you with like this angry face,
I see.
because there is like those political tensions still. And yeah, the government still uses this argument, because the one of the main demand of this armed group is self-representation, and self-representation of the self, culture, and language is one of the main kind of root of the culture that feeds, nurtures the culture.
Yeah,
So
very.
you can use it, I would say, but it has no equivalence in officiality. You cannot use Kurdish in institution, as an example.
Yeah, I guess like it's a tough age. I was just reading something about like a couple of years back when U.S. military was moving, and I think Turkish government just wanted to send out military and take over. I think those fighters basically held off, and like nope,
Mhm.
that's not gonna happen this time either. So that was like always. Do, do you think like do you feel like growing up in there was kind of like a tough as a macro perspective now that you are like have an outsider view as well, that it makes you what would you think like from just having a lived experience through that, what stands out, what's the key thing that really you think became the base of you as you are today?
US again.
What do you think you picked up from having the lived experience through
Mhm.
region and Turkey that do you think you
Yeah, I understand. I, if someone is gonna ask me to give them a life advice,
yeah
I would say yeah, like travel,
yeah
but it's just like wisely. It's just not having a kind of backpack to just like visit the beauty of the landscape and just like move to another one.
yeah
Because the world, even though due to this communication, like this technology, that I call it like as digital habitus,
yeah
makes it like so small. The sense of the world became so small, but still it's so diverse,
yeah
and like a variety of the languages, culture, which kind of broaden my perspective about life, rather than just like sticking into the a kind of social dilemma or problem of a small region.
yeah
I gained the experience of the seeing the world like through the macro perspective. I
yeah
have seen the variety of the Kurdish question in other countries too. In Colombia, there is FARC. There is like it is the same kind of political tension in between a small group and the legal representation. I don't know that when you consider such equivalence and analogies that exist in other countries too, and you see the diversity of it, you say, okay, like let me take a step back to just like have a wider perspective of what's going on, like why I'm just like stuck into just like a detention that is only valid here. Like if I just like step out of this circle, it's not gonna be in my life anymore actually.
yeah
So that was one of the, I guess, change that I had.
Fair
And
enough.
yeah, US or just UK played a kind of major kind of factor in my life,
Yeah.
because I learned the language in US, and it was my first abroad experience, to be honest. Like the first time I left Turkey and I went to US, and I traveled in there, I had a kind of like this energy to just like explore everything
Right.
with the joy of it
Right.
while learning the languages. So yeah, like seeing such in a way commercial or in a way superficial,
Yeah.
but in a way colorful, in a way entertaining, different diversity of the life with the standards, the high standards that you don't see in, I don't know, in Sudan, in, I don't know, in Syria nowadays,
Right.
that exists in somewhere else. Like you see kind of like world through the maybe upgraded dimension. You don't see just like a straight away, like so you see just like how wide it is, how in depth it is.
Yeah. Uh, What do you think? Like now, you can look from outside also because it's always hard to know things when you are in the system, right? What do you think is something really interesting in Turkey that other people should pick up, maybe culturally, let's say?
One of the, okay, I guess the Turkey is in a process.
Yeah.
My understanding of Turkey, it dissolves. You know, like Turkey has been such a strong country in terms of the collective family relations.
Yeah.
I have like more than 70 cousins, like directly.
Right.
So this is that's the meaning of the collective. Like I'm in Morocco, like if I knock the door of the one of the neighbor, like if I ask them like how many cousins you have, it might be similar. This
Right.
is structure in a way. But nowadays, due to the kind of increase the conditions, life conditions that enable people to move out and live by themselves,
Right.
is a kind of like a step out from the collective society and step into the individualism.
Right.
But still there is a tension that people cannot somehow see this, maybe like they are going through the transformation, but which brings the conflicts, which brings the tension in between this process, but they cannot find out like what it is actually, like what's going on, like why do I have this tension in my body, like in my social surrounding.
Right.
That might be one of the things that I can point out as a sociologist too.
Do you think there is a way to inculcate this? I think that's very true. Even like from my experience, I feel the same. It's like, you when I was growing up, I'll step out of a house and everyone around you is basically your direct, like extended family kind of thing. And as like you have more empower to do everything by yourself, that makes you like more individualized. So you like I live in my house, but it's barely that you talk to your neighbors at this point, right? So although you're super empowered by yourself, but the sense of community that you always had, it comes with pros and cons, I guess. It feels like it's forcing you to do things, but without it you're like, well, what do I do now? So I guess that is something we should retain in some way, I suppose.
But I guess it depends the individual. Like if I consider myself again,
Yeah.
so I felt empowered enough to just knock the door of my neighbor when I was living in US,
Right.
as an example, because like I was enabled in the society in Turkey, like normally just like knock to the door of the neighbor because I knew them, to just like say hi or just like ask for something, which made me to just like carry my culture with me,
Right.
while just like creating my own bubble that I'm living in it as an individual,
Yeah.
rather than strongly being exposed to individual character of the society in US or in UK.
Right.
I said like, why? Like I can just like extend my collectiveness, my the perception of the collective society in there too, which helped me. It turned out good in a way that I created such a good relations, because people are not so strongly kind of bounded, like they don't draw their boundaries, even though they know what is their what are their boundaries. But still, if someone is gonna knock their door to just like ask for something with a smiley face,
Right.
I don't think that door would be like shut like harshly
Right.
in a way.
That's true. Where do you stay in US, by the way?
I was in Indiana. I studied in Indiana University
I see.
for, yeah, but I traveled more than 12 different states.
All right. Which place do you think, after like traveling to a bunch of places, you have found most interesting from your point of view?
In terms of,
Which you found like that's so very different. I didn't expect that.
so just a minute. Recently I was in Colombia. Yeah, Colombia is a country is full of color in terms of the joy,
Yeah.
in a way, the way that people socialize,
Right.
and the nature by itself, like it amazed me. I really fell in love with the nature of the Colombia.
Yeah.
That's might be one of them I can point out as a country. I don't know, like I lived in Uruguay. Uruguay is one of the first world country in the like, and it is one of the high economy
Yeah.
in the region, even though it has like a 3 million population.
Yeah.
So the one I saw the structure of the Uruguay, like it was in a way like worked out pretty well. It was a good composition of those Western structures that applied in the kind of South American culture and created like such a good fusion that I really liked. But yeah, like I like Morocco. Morocco is this is my first time that I spent already like 2.5 months. It is socially pretty friendly, like embracing you, welcoming you, and it still protects its traditional roots.
Yeah.
It is religious, but at the same time, it has variety of the ethnicity in a way. And yeah, like those Berbers or like Bedouin who lives in mountain or desert, but still they come to the city with their traditional clothes and traditional living. I don't know, maybe this has been one of the things that I missed while I was living in the region of the Europe.
Yeah. Are you in Marrakesh or a different city?
I'm in Essaouira.
I don't know that one.
Essaouira, yeah, it's in the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. It's one of the old colonial city that was established by Portugal, yeah, back in time.
Uh, Given like Turkey was also like such a big deal in like terms of history books, was Ottoman Empire and like kind of ruling class and over the time. So do you think that kind of like changes people in somewhat, that when you're in the power historically, do you think historic power kind of has some influence in how people perceive themselves and like other things?
I guess it is matter of how it is being used in the discourse. If you use it as a one of the characters to empower society ideologically, to say like we are the kind of Ottomans are our ancestor, we were the ruling the whole region, to gain like a kind of like historical power from your heritage. Yeah, there are groups, nationalist groups, I would say, they still kind of admire and they claim the power of the Ottoman in the presentation of the Turkey. But yeah, here is one of the funny dialogue between me and one of my flatmate in UK. He's from Bulgaria, and one day like we were chatting and we were talking, we were criticizing the colonialism, and he just like kind of like stepped back, he said like, man, like you guys have been colonizing us like such a long time, like. And I couldn't associate, like I said, just a minute, like what do you mean, like you know where I'm from? He said, yeah, like the Ottomans. Like, I said, I have zero association with Ottoman, like this is I didn't do, man. Like if you want me to apologize, like I can do it, but yeah, I'm not the right person to just like address in this case.
Yeah, it is hard to historical reparations, like basically at what point do you like, well, just move on and deal with it as present. It's kind of like always like we also had like a similar history back in India, like British came 200 years about like a rule over and then moved on. So it's still like kind of like you can feel like on the ground people have like a little bit different perception because of that. It's like what do people appreciate more, what do people think is like a higher status. It's much more that way looking. So definitely that has being ruled class kind of like influences that way at least. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, this is the colonial heritage in a way.
yeah,
Colonial heritage, like I can in a way summarize.
yeah,
As you said, like a ruling power who has high opportunity of the different means of the life, in terms of political representation, in terms of social status, in terms of economical capitals, all kind of like combine in the body of the ruling power, who have like such a clean, let's say, clothes, like a good way of just like good, how do you call it, like a fashion, who are being powerful, who cannot be touched, who lives in a kind of secured area, who have a good car back in time. Those are the kind of like it creates the image regarding those colonial ruling power, and those images becomes the kind of desire that people kind of like envy and wish to have it. Like that might be the one of the analysis of this relationship.
Do you think you will at some point feel like you'll try to go back Turkey permanently kind of thing?
Yeah, like this scholarship that I have is not for free. So I have a position, academic position in Mardin University. It's in the Kurdish region.
Yeah.
And probably after this summer, I will go back to Turkey and start to work in the university as a professor. And I will settle in Turkey.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Some classes for Mr. That was interesting. There are so many MOOC classes. Look forward to what kind of MOOC you create. That will be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
excited.
We didn't touch that one. Like, what's your current thesis? What exactly are you doing?
So I guess I used some of my PhD while we were chatting. So my thesis is about Syrian refugees and their migration from east to west. And I'm trying to analyze that through the historical colonial perspective. Whether there has been any implication, like the post effects of the colonial time in the perception of people when it becomes to a migration destination. So basically the question was like why people wish to go to certain places, especially in Western Europe. So that this is my research so far. Then I did field work for this. I visited refugee camps in Turkey, in Greece, and in Germany, and I created a kind of migration route that has been used most by the refugees. So I asked people like, what is the how their perception, which I refer to what they know, is being formed, and by which tools mainly. And yeah, like those perception about West, about the other basically, and how they locate position themselves in accordance to another one.
Yeah.
So what I figured out, I believe like I'm writing a kind of new theory in a way, that I believe there is a new concept of the colonization that involves media and media instruments in itself, because the historical colonialism, even though it was like maybe 60, 70 years ago that it starts to end, didn't have like a kind of mass production of the media,
Right.
which, yeah, this is a new kind of nowadays. And I try to formulate how media as a major domain can be used, can become an instrument to function a system basically.
Yeah, it's a great way to build propaganda. Probably you know already. I was sometimes I super get intrigued by Noam Chomsky. He has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like good content on this one, like book Manufacturing Consent, that
Yeah,
really deep dives into how these political class and media class kind of like get together to form a massive opinion basically in the population, and how you can really manipulate things at scale to build any propaganda you want basically.
I use that book too,
Yeah,
and yeah, like I give lots of credit
yeah,
and I get lots of like benefits too. But what I mean by media is, I guess, extend the concept of the traditional media.
mm,
Nowadays we have those, I call it like semi-autonomous.
yeah.
It's not fully autonomous
It's
because it's,
citizen journalism combined with standard journalism also.
and also the social media, like the entertaining.
Right.
So this is a new time, like this, you carry basically a new digital world in your pocket.
Yep.
And this is a new sense. And you, while carrying this, you feel empowered by
Right.
being able to reach whoever you want, by being able to achieve any information that kind of like extends the vision that you have about life. So I use social media and the representation of the idea, or a representation of a character, representation of, I don't know, a model, especially in the form of the image, because it can reproduce the desire for people. Like let's make it simple. When, in my case, when a Syrian refugee who lives in Germany shares photos in
Mm,
front of a Porsche, in front of a, I don't know, like a luxury car in a good park with
yep.
a smiley face and shares, those refugees, those Syrian refugees who stay still in Turkey, when they see that, this is the kind of reproduction of the desire. Like they have their consent to use and reach those information, but the indirect and long-term effect of those kind of relation, increasing media relation especially, reproduce and reshapes the people perception. And when you ask them like, where would you like to go, those who see in their digital habitus a lot is Germany or Sweden. They say
Right.
like, I would like to go to Germany because I know many people and who already like start to make money, or like they are happy, they have like better life. So yeah, this is what I mean by media. Of course, like also you can do propaganda, or like you can manipulate people, or like you can produce the consent of the society.
Do,
And
do,
also it is the biggest economy in the world right now. Like no one question like how Facebook, or I don't know, like Amazon, such thing that depends on the digital facilities, has become like the richest ever,
yep.
which the world has not seen ever, like in 10 years. This is the kind of like a speeded, like a really, really speeded up transformation of the economical perception, social relations. I don't
Do,
know.
do you think we can stay independent minded in this kind of setup? Because like one of the things I discovered recently, it's like this French philosopher René Girard, right? He has this theory called mimetic theory. Basically, or we desire what other people desire, we learn what other people learn around us. So that allows like a society as a group to basically learn things through like osmosis, cultural osmosis, let's say. But it also like creates desire. So there's no desire in vacuum. People want what other people want around them. So that seems like more like intricate. Of course, it's like on steroids when you double down with internet and social media, I guess. but do you have like a theory at this point? What can people do to like, try to minimize the impact of this as much as possible?
I don't have a recipe to
Yeah.
just like basically
Give me
to
three
give
items I
people
can do to be awesome.
yeah, like I'm trying to show like what is functioning and that we are kind of like one of the major user of it. This is like the picture that I'm trying to depict for the readers. But when it comes to give a solution, I don't know, like I didn't define the system as problematic yet,
Yeah.
because this is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I cannot just deny it, and I cannot deny the facility and the function of the media in my life right now. The thing that we are doing is one of the tool that we are using basically.
Yeah.
And it seems it becomes compulsory, you know. This is the one of the breaking points again. It is being imposed on the society. Like as a PhD student, let's say, as an example, I cannot live without having access to internet. I
Mm-hmm.
have to have an email address. I have to have like a phone call. I have to have like a bank account. I have to have a phone number.
Yeah.
I have to have, I don't know, like the email address. All those things somehow like forcibly kind of links me to the in this new formation of the digital habitus,
Yeah.
and it grows. So how it can be, like there are lots of, I don't know, philosophies about like how you should use the media like in accordance to your interests and what you are seeking for, rather than just like getting lost. It
Yeah.
seems like people, when you give opportunity to people, they consume much more than what they need,
Yep.
basically.
True. Yeah. What do you find from your talking to people? Do you feel like the expectations exceeded what they came with the reality, or the other way around?
No, like this is one of the striking point actually that I'm making in the research. In the case of Syrian refugees, so I interviewed with people in Turkey in the camps, and they mainly pointed out they would like to go to those countries: Germany, Sweden, UK, France, if they have chance. And then I went to the Greece, and I spoke with people in the refugee camps, and they didn't consider Greece as a European country. They said, no, like this is not a country this is a transition, that this is a country that we have to pass through. And I went to the Germany, which was the kind of a destination that people desire to go. And one of the first thing that I realized that people have huge disappointments, because the expectation they have from those countries is not only related to social or the economical benefits to get from. Yeah, like if you work in Germany, probably you would make money. If you work, I don't know, in Amsterdam in a position like 10 hours per day, probably you would make money. It would like increase your life qualification. But what disappoints people is the treatment of those countries. You are not being treated like as a subject,
Right.
even though all the laws kind of like makes you, recognizes you, gives you legal statute, but still you are not being able to get a job until you get the C1 level of German, which takes like 3 years, 4 years in many cases.
Right.
And you cannot move out from camps for many years. I
Mm.
have met like a doctor who worked like as a medical doctor in Syria for more than like 15 years, and who was like working in one of the coffee shop. She said like it is like almost impossible to get like equivalence of the documents that I have. Like I have diploma, I
Yeah.
have my work experience, but I cannot use it in here.
Yeah.
And how they are being used in there, like it is gonna be probably as a cheap labor force,
Right.
because Germany is like one of the heavy industry country. They will need new people to facilitate those factories in a way. And while those Germans are like getting like more qualified jobs, and who is gonna make the easy jobs or like public services are gonna be probably like the Syrians, or as it is Turkish right now, or Romanian or Polish.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's something like I always like when I go down and see uh, it, the language is such a like a strict kind of like a condition in most of the places for like any kind of integration and stuff, and especially in Europe, I guess either in France, or I was super surprised if you even like go around Berlin, like the amount of people living in camps and in like kind of ghetto kind of areas. It's like massive numbers, even though like policy allows them, like everyone who needs a house gets a housing, gets a basic safety net, but
Mhm.
reality looks a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good examples are you can consider London, you can consider France, like in many cities. All those suburbs are full by the third world countries
Right.
citizens, like who went there to for work, who cannot just like afford to just like have a good apartment in the, I don't know, like District 1, District 2.
Yeah.
Like they have to just like move out to do just like, this is like how it is being treated.
What's like more fun topics? What's the favorite food items from Turkish? That's my favorite thing to explore when I go to different places. What's the best food and drink to try there?
Turkey is a Turkey has a good cuisine culture, I would say, because due to its geographical position, it's a kind of composition of the east and west and a bit north. So in that sense, Turkish food is spicy, oilish, and mainly based on the meat.
Right.
So far, like kebabs that probably you see around in Amsterdam. Those are the kind of like,
When you can't find any food, that's what you can rely on at least.
yeah. But in Turkey, I don't know, like those traditional foods,
Yeah.
like hundreds of different types of soup. You can make rice in like various version. You can make pasta in various version. But what defines the cuisine, I guess, the set, like you have a way of cooking, like a base that you create a base, like you use onion, you use garlic, you fry them with like the olive oil, and you add like a bit tomato paste, and afterwards, like either you add chickpeas, or either you add like a lentil, or you add like something else which changes, but like the base are the kind of like a common way of preparation of the food in many countries, I would say. But Turkey is a good country, especially for food tourism.
Yeah.
Like if I was,
I suppose like, and Turkish coffee is also a little very different, I guess, and it goes with that cube thing. I keep forgetting the name, the sweet ones.
yeah, they call it Turkish delight in English.
What's his name
L-
actually?
Lokum.
Lakum. Yeah, that one. That's like super delicious actually. One flavor at least I like the most. That's like
Yeah.
otherwise.
I don't know, like regarding my favorite food, I would say my mom's food. I'm a good cook, by the way.
All right.
I combine it, like I can cook almost like everything.
Yeah.
My diet is vegetarian mainly,
Yeah.
but yeah, like in within this like diet, like I can make variety of the different kinds of things. I like the spices from India as an example,
Yeah.
or like I like the curry sauce. I like, I don't know, soya sauce. Like those are like more like a kind of far east
Yeah.
eastern countries cuisine. Like I just compose basically. I create a base that I learned from Turkey, but I add the flavor that I learned from Japan or like I learned from Colombia.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. I need to self-invite myself to wherever you are next time, I guess. So
Yeah, or like I should visit Amsterdam. It's been a
that,
long time I haven't been.
yeah, anytime you are around, always happy to host you as well. What are
No
you into
problem.
otherwise? What do you do for fun when you're not trying to solve world's problems?
uh, I like languages. Like I learned in last few years, I learned English, Spanish, and a bit Arabic
Yeah.
that I like. And I guess we didn't talk about like kind of love and maybe relationships.
Yeah,
So I,
that's something like I always was super interested. Like, how is the how do you think about like a relationship and dating and partner?
so I since my early 20s,
Yeah.
which has been like maybe 10 years, that I decided and I determined and I preferred to not be monogamous.
Right.
I'm a polyamorous person
Right.
regarding like relationship type. I had my relations in last couple of years
Yeah.
as a polyamorous. I had more than one partner
Right.
that I was honest about it. I don't consider like there is any ethical issue about this unless you're honest. And so yeah, like in this case, I was quite happy and I appreciate the interest of women.
I
um,
was curious. How does it work, Jenny? Jenny, like how long do you have like polyamorous partners and like because I was trying to read about like how did it work. It's like someone has to start feeling a little bit uh, envious or jealous, or that doesn't happen if you have like people.
yeah, that's I guess the sickness of the relationship in general. It doesn't matter like the which form.
Right.
If there is a jealousy,
Yeah.
jealousy comes from the right to claim that you are mine.
Right.
I don't want to share you with someone else. So this is like one of the trigger of it. So in my case, yeah, like I was not the side that who decided to end this relationship. There was usually it was my partner who could not handle with their feeling,
Yeah.
like with their jealousy or with their imagination mainly. Even though I was honest, I didn't lie.
Right.
But I guess the reason that polyamorous relationship do not take long is there is a potential that people think, okay, like if this person is a polyamorous who claims that who might fall in love with someone else too,
Right.
that feeling creates insecurity, and this insecurity cannot be handled at some point.
Yeah.
In my case, I was the one that who respected most. Nowadays, like I have my partner that I am here together. She's
Yeah.
here as well, and we are planning to settle together. Even though this is the kind of like agreement, like the kind of mutual agreement, we respect each other's personal life. But I don't have any other partner as a relationship, let's say, that I feel responsible to respond or just like to be in touch all the time.
Right.
So yeah, but regarding my sexual freedom, yeah, this is another case. Like we don't involve that part in our like relationship to make it kind of like an argument for jealousy or a emotion for insecurity.
Fair enough. How is it be like your experience to see people from different, let's say, cultures?
So
I
I
think
have traveled, I guess, like in more than 40 countries already,
yeah.
and so which means like I met with women from 40 different countries,
All
and
right.
like yeah, like in London, like actually, like or in those countries that you meet with everybody,
Yeah.
like from the kind of like a representation of the all different cultures.
Yeah.
So like I guess like I was accepted and respected by all those different cultures. But yeah, you can understand the background of the person that you cannot consider kind of long-term relationship or intimacy in a way.
Yeah.
But when it comes to for short-term hanging out or like let's say like friends with benefits,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it was well respected and accepted in both cases. So and I consider myself lucky that yeah, the woman liked me and I liked them.
So
Yeah, that was the case.
fair enough. All right, guys. Super interesting. We covered a lot of things today, and
Yeah.
super interesting. Any other hopeful message for me to go keep on?
I don't know. Let's be in touch.
Yeah.
That's the wish, I guess. And I have a great news actually. This totally radical transformation in my life.
Yeah.
We are expecting a baby. That my
Ah,
partner is pregnant. Yeah,
congratulations. Yeah.
for thank you very much.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we are kind of preparing ourselves for the long-term settlements that
Yeah.
I'm considering to go back to Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though like I'm still not fully convinced by the idea of like reproduction of human beings a lot.
Right.
But yeah, I'm yeah, we have decided to keep the baby.
Well, it's like since fish came out of water, there has been the continuous line of gene sequence that shouldn't end at you, I suppose. So keep it going as long as you can.
Yeah, but with the respect of the nature. We didn't talk about kind of spirituality and the, let's say, nature, the relations that we have.
Yeah.
It is kind of like a big part of my life, especially in like last few years that I try to discover more.
What do you mean? Spirituality and nature relation?
I guess I try to switch off my mind from the human-centric perspective, like because we are so embodied and surrounded by the humans and the human social
Right.
reactions,
Right.
which kind of like blocks to have any kind of empathy or association with any other creature. And to me, like I don't harm anything usually. Like I even try to just like not take off the leaves of one of the tree, but just like this is the kind of respect that I'm trying to keep, and I'm trying to continue to discover more what is my function and what is my relation and how I'm being perceived by them.
Right.
If there was a possibility of just like creating a respectful way of living, how it would be. And yeah, it is more related, I guess, like inner inquiry. Like I'm trying to find out like deeper understanding of my way of perceiving the world, because it's not just a voice like we are just speaking right now. Let's say like we are using a language that
Right.
we are familiar, we recognize, but there are like sounds that can be counted as language but we are totally ignorant and we don't have interest in a way.
Right.
We try to just like discover this interest through the more scientific way. We
Yeah.
just like measure the sequence and whether there is like any repetitive sequence and which it might be. We try to like understand more structural way, but I believe hearing your sound, it just like immediately like pops out like the experiences that we shared or we created together in Paris, but still like it is valid, like it is the kind of impulse of it. So like when you consider like what is the impulse of a bird sound or like the hearing the sound of the waves, if it is about like the production of the meaning, so like why I don't produce a meaning in relation to other creatures rather than human being? This is what I mean by the spirituality, I guess.
So like coexisting with all the participants in this ecosystem compared to just we as a top dog in this food cycle and just everything
Yeah,
else to fall in line basically.
basically, yeah.
So sounds very Hinduish kind of thing actually. That's like the kind of like a super there that nature and should coexist with you. So like everything is part of you and you're part of everything. It's kind of like that
Yeah,
extent.
this is a kind of philosophy, I would say, like as far as I understood from Buddhism or the kind of Eastern religion.
Right.
And India is a kind of like a market of it, especially nowadays.
Well,
They kind of
it's the
like,
root of all these
they,
things, right? So Hinduism,
yeah,
Judaism, Buddhism, they all have the roots in the kind of similar location and concepts, basically.
but you can find the similar patterns in the belief system.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in India, like or in the Eastern religion, in Eastern philosophy, you can see that. Or like in Middle Eastern, you can see Sufism. If
Yeah.
you go further to just like Latin America, you see that those indigenous who have kind of like a correlation with especially nature that surrounds them, they live in there.
Yeah.
All those kind of things have quite similar pattern when they try to understand those structures.
Yeah.
This is, I guess, like one of the base. And yeah, like I accept any truth or like any logical thing, any sense that stimulates me, and I accept it. Yeah, like I try to dig it more and understand better.
I guess that's as good as any. That's all we can hope for. Like what we curious about and double down on those things and go as far as we can do it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thanks, by the way. Thanks for the invitation. It has been
Yeah.
such a nice chat. It's been
Yeah.
a long
Exactly.
time.
Yeah. Always happy to
Yeah.
do. Let's keep in touch and looking forward to the baby. When is it due?
Yeah, I guess it's in 7 months. It's like a two
There
months
is some,
pregnancy now.
there is some heads up still.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And if you come across this side of the pond, let's meet up. Or otherwise, so maybe when the world opens up, we'll make a trip and catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always welcome. And like, yeah, you have space in my place wherever I am.
And vice versa.
Okay. Thank you
Perfect.
very much.
Thanks a lot, Baris. Have a good
Yeah.
evening. Catch you later.
Thank you. Yeah. See you
Yeah.
later. Bye bye.